All right, you beautiful bastards. Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're going to be diving into the glorious clusterfuck that is Ubuntu's release history. We've got a shit ton of info here from Wikipedia, and let me tell you, it's a wild ride. So strap yourselves in and get ready to have your minds blown by the sheer audacity of these motherfuckers.
So, Ubuntu releases might seem like a random mishmash of animal names and adjectives, but there's actually a method to the madness. The version numbers are tied to the release dates, simple enough, right? But what's interesting is that they're also synced up with Genome releases, which means each Ubuntu release usually comes with a shiny new version of Genome.
Hold the phone. Gino, you mean there's another layer of naming bullshit on top of this already fucked up system? And wait a new release every 6 months? Jesus Christ, who the hell can keep up with that? It's like they're trying to give us all aneurysms.
And to make things even more confusing, each release comes with different support levels. LTS releases, or long-term support, are the heavy hitters. They get 5 years of support out of the gate. And you can even stretch that to a full decade with a little extra cash for something called ESM or extended security maintenance. Basically, it's for the folks who don't want to be constantly upgrading their shit.
And for the rest of us, the poor bastards who live on the bleeding edge there, are the regular releases with their measly 9 months of support. It's like a one-night stand compared to the long, drawn-out marriage of an LTS. But hey, I guess 9 months is enough time to break some hearts and move on to the next shiny object, right?
Yeah, right. Let's cut the crap and get to the real meat of this deep dive fucking code names. We're talking adjective-animal combos, all in alphabetical order. They started with A for artful aardvark back in 2017, and now they're circling back with P for plucky puffin. Seriously, who comes up with this shit?
Okay, alphabetical order I get, but some of these names are just batshit crazy. Warty Warthog, Zesty Zapus. It sounds like they're pulling these names out of a hatful of LSD and unicorn farts. But hold on, you mentioned something about mythical creatures. Now that's where things get interesting.
Well, it all started with Ubuntu 9.04, the jaunty jackalope. That was the first mythical beast to grace an Ubuntu release. And later on, we had the utopic unicorn, which, let's be honest, sounds like a My Little Pony character on acid.
Wait, so not all of them are mythical creatures. What a fucking ripoff. Ubuntu, if you're listening, you need to step up your game. Mythical beasts all the way, baby. Think of the marketing possibilities. Imagine a dragon breathing fire on the Windows logo.
Here's where it gets even weirder. Sometimes the names actually hint at new features. For example, the koala's favorite food is eucalyptus leaves, and Ubuntu 9.11 Karmic Koala heavily featured the eucalyptus cloud computing platform. It's like they're hiding secret messages for tech nerds.
Holy shit, they're playing 4D chess with these names. It's like a secret society for Linux geeks. All right, let's take a rapid-fire tour through some of the most memorable releases and their quirks. Hit me with the knowledge, motherfucker.
Okay, first up, we've got Ubuntu 6.06 Dapper Drake. The OG LTS release, famous for combining the live CD and install CD into one. They were also jokingly called the first late-to-ship release because it was delayed.
Dapper Drake. More like delayed Drake, am I right? Even back then, they were pushing deadlines.
Next, we've got Ubuntu 8.04 Hardy Heron. This bad boy introduced the Wooby installer, which basically let you install Ubuntu on a Windows machine without messing around with partitions. It was a game changer for people who were too scared to dive into the Linux world head first.
Wooby Han. Sounds like something you'd order at a Chinese restaurant. But seriously, it was a godsend for newbies who didn't want to fuck up their Windows installations. Partitions are scary, man.
Then came Ubuntu 11.04 Natty Narwhal, the release that dared to ditch the familiar GNOME2 interface for the all-new Unity interface. It was a bold move, and let's just say not everyone was happy about it.
Ah, Unity. The interface that launched 1,000 forum wars. Some people loved it, some people hated it with a passion. It was like the Linux equivalent of the pineapple on pizza debate.
Next up, Ubuntu 12.0 Quantal Quetzal. This one caused quite a stir by incorporating Amazon search results into the Unity dash. Talk about a privacy nightmare. People were pissed off, to say the least.
I bet they were. Nothing says, we don't give a shit about your privacy, like your operating system suddenly trying to sell you crap from Amazon. What a bunch of dicks.
Moving on to Ubuntu 13.10 Saucy Salamander. This release almost replaced Firefox with Chromium, but thankfully they came to their senses and stuck with Firefox. They were also planning on switching to the Mirror display server, but ran into issues and postponed it. Thank God for small miracles, right?
Thank fuck for that. Chromium is fine, and all but Firefox is like the OG rebel of the browser world. And Mirror. Let's just say it was a clusterfuck waiting to happen.
Then we have Ubuntu 17.0 Artful Aardvark. This was a major turning point. It was the first Ubuntu release to ditch Unity for GNOME Shell and switch from X11 to the Wayland display server. Talk about a double whammy.
Artful aardvark. More like Overwatch Unity. It was like Ubuntu finally realized they had fucked up and decided to go back to their roots.
Now let's fast forward to a more recent release, Ubuntu 20.04 Focal Fossa. This LTS release marked the end of 32-bit support and pushed snaps as the preferred app format. This, of course, caused a shitstorm of controversy.
Oh, snaps. The new kid on the block that everyone loves to hate. Some people love the convenience, others felt like Canonical was trying to control everything.
Then there's Ubuntu 23.0 Mantic Minotaur. Downloads were temporarily halted because they found some hate speech in a Ukrainian translation of the installer. Talk about a PR nightmare.
Mantic Minotaur, more like Maniac Minotaur, am I right? Seriously, who the fuck approves these translations?
And finally, we have Ubuntu 24.04 Noble Numbat. This LTS release got a lot of flack for not allowing .deb package installations graphically. People accused Canonical of trying to force their snap packages down everyone's throats.
Well, that's one way to piss off your user base. Canonical's got balls. I'll give them that. But seriously, what the fuck were they thinking?
They did eventually cave and add the ability to install .deb files graphically back into the App Center in a later update, though they still can't be managed even if installed from the App Center store.
So they basically threw the users a bone, but kept them on a tight leash.
It's like giving you a burger, but no fucking ketchup or mustard.
I get that they're trying to push snaps, but goddamn, give people some freedom. It's like they want to control every goddamn aspect of our digital lives.
And that brings us to Ubuntu 24.0, the Oracular Oriole. This one finally uses Wayland by default on NVIDIA GPUs, which is a big fucking deal. Plus, it's rocking GNOME 47.
Oracular Oriole.
It's like Ubuntu finally decided to embrace the future, but with a healthy dose of caution.
Sounds like some kind of fortune-telling bird.
Yeah.
Maybe it can tell us what other crazy-ass animal names they've got lined up for future releases.
Speaking of the future, Ubuntu also changed their policy on Linux kernels. From now on, they're always going to use the latest upstream kernel code, even if it hasn't been officially released as stable yet.
So they're basically saying, fuck stability. We want the newest shit, even if it's buggy as hell.
It's a bold move, and it's sure to piss off some people who value stability over bleeding-edge features.
Typical Ubuntu, always pushing the boundaries and breaking things in the process.
And with that, we come to the star of today's show, Ubuntu 25.04, the Plucky Puffin, set to drop on April 17th, 2025. This little bastard is ready to take the Ubuntu world by storm, or at least that's what they're hoping for.
Plucky puffin, seriously. What the fuck is a puffin anyway? Some kind of penguin with a bad attitude, but hey, at least it's not another goddamn warthog or Lafayette Vark.
Well, we don't have all the juicy details yet, but we know it'll include GNORM 48, and knowing Ubuntu, they've probably got some other surprises up their sleeve. Maybe they'll finally give us that goddamn Chupacabra release.
A Chupacabra Ubuntu, now you're talking? That would be fucking epic. They could even have a logo with a Chupacabra sucking the blood out of the Windows logo. Someone get Canonical on the phone stat.
All right, let's take a step back from the crazy animal names for a second and try to make sense of this whole Ubuntu mess, from warty warthog to plucky puffin. It's been a wild ride, to say the least. They've gone through major interface changes, embraced new technologies, pissed off a lot of users, and somehow managed to stay relevant in the ever-changing world of operating systems.
That's like watching a train wreck in slow motion. You know, it's going to be bad, but you just can't look away. But hey, at least they're not boring.
So what does all this mean for you, our dear listeners? Well, it means you've got choices, whether you're a seasoned Linux pro or a curious newbie. There's an Ubuntu release out there that's perfect for you.
Or maybe not. Maybe you'll try Ubuntu and realize it's a giant pain in the ass. But hey, at least you'll have a good story to tell. And who knows, maybe one day you'll be rocking the latest Ubuntu release with a mythical beast as its mascot. Imagine booting up your computer and being greeted by a fire-breathing dragon or a majestic griffin.
But in all seriousness, Ubuntu's commitment to innovation and user experience is something to be admired. They're not afraid to take risks and try new things, even if it means pissing off a few people along the way.
And that's what makes them so damn interesting. They're always evolving, always pushing forward, always finding new and creative ways to fuck things up. So cheers to Ubuntu, the little operating system that could and often does fuck things up in spectacular fashion. But hey, we love them anyway, right?
Now, with Ubuntu's increasing focus on cloud and IoT applications, one can't help but wonder what kind of bizarre creatures might grace their future release names. Will we see releases named after mythical AI beings, alien life forms from distant galaxies? Or maybe they'll just stick with the tried and true method of pulling random animal names out of a hat.
I'm putting my money on a Cthulhu release. Ubuntu 27.04, the Callous Cthulhu. It just rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? They could have a logo with tentacles wrapped around the planet Earth. That would be some seriously badass branding.
Perhaps they'll draw inspiration from the animal kingdom's unsung heroes, the pangolins, the axolotls, the okapis of the world.
Dude, an Okapi Ubuntu would be fucking awesome. They could use those crazy-ass spirally horns as part of the logo. It would be like the Linux equivalent of a unicorn, but way cooler.
The possibilities are endless, and that's what's so goddamn fascinating about following Ubuntu's journey. They're not just building an operating system, they're creating a world of possibilities and a whole lot of head-scratching moments.
Well said, my friend. Well said. All right. That's all the time we've got for today's deep dive into the wonderful world of Ubuntu. We've covered a lot of ground, from warty warthogs to plucky puffins, from Unity debacles to snap controversies. It's been a hell of a ride.
And as always, we encourage you to do your own research, dig deeper into the topics that pique your interest, and maybe even try out an Ubuntu release or two. Just be prepared for a wild ride.
And if you're feeling really adventurous, why not try installing Arch Linux? It's like the ultimate Linux challenge. If you survive the installation process, you'll be a goddamn Linux guru.
Yes. But seriously, folks, Ubuntu is a powerful and versatile operating system with a rich and often hilarious history. Whether you love it or hate it, you can't deny its impact on the world of computing.
That's the damn truth. All right, folks, that's it for this episode of The Deep Dive. We'll be back next week with another deep dive into, well, you'll just have to tune in to find out. Until then, stay curious, stay skeptical, and most importantly, stay fucking awesome.